We all came here today to celebrate the life of Bill Baker. And by celebrate, we are going to enjoy who he was, and what he meant to us. I'm his son, Lance Baker, along with my mother, Mary Gill Hennigan Baker, my wife, Jamie, my daughters, Kaylee and Bridget. We want to thank you for being part of my dad's life and coming here today. First, I would like to thank everyone who was there on Monday. At the arena, at the hospital, with my mom. I know that God put all of you there at the right place, at the right time. And if it's okay for George Bush to cry at his dad's funeral, it's okay for me. He was born at home, in the middle of three sons in 1933. His older brother was so tiny, when he was born, his mother kept him in a shoebox lined with cotton and set it on the other door of the wood cook stove to keep him warm. 11 months later, when my dad was born, not so tiny, my grandmother declared, and I quote, "I thought I'd given birth to a nation." 5 years later, when baby brother Frank was born, my dad remembered seeing black and blue marks on his head, where the doctor had to help him into the world. Dad was sure that the black came from the black bag that the doctor brought him in. My dad wasn't one to complain, but he did tell me that when he was growing up, his mother would say, "You two older boys go bring in the milk cows. Later, you two younger boys bring in the eggs." No matter what the chore was, as the middle child, he got picked. When he was in high school, he once told his dad, "Dad, I think I need a car." His dad said, "I think you do too, son. You should earn the money to go buy it." Lesson learned. That was my dad's personality. The way he raised me was the way he was with everybody he ever met. He was direct, he was logical, he was black and white on right and wrong. All things he learned at the University of Mom and Dad. He had parents that made him a good parent. To me, and I know to many of you that are here today. He was a cowboy's cowboy and a rancher's cowboy. From growing up on a high mountain ranch to rodeo arenas throughout the western United States, he covered all the bases that made him the Bill Baker that we all knew. He started riding bareback horses. As a very young man, he was introduced to my mother by her brother Jim in front of the hotel in Des Moines on a rodeo weekend. According to her, she was not impressed. Because those rodeo cowboys, you never knew if any of them already had a wife or not. But I know that his impression of her was much more favorable, because you all have seen pictures of my mother as a young woman. Through 65 years of marriage, they made it work. And taught me what a good marriage looked like. Bear Baker, as he was known, was also a bareback rider. Let me tell you why he wasn't a bull rider. This is in his own words. When I was working at the KC Ranch in the Davis Mountains of West Texas, they had this crossbred Jersey milk cow. I had to milk her every day. I hated milking, and I hated that cow. So I decided to get some sport out of it. I put all my cowboy gear, including my spurs, fed her grain, put the bucket next to her, and stepped up on her to ride her. When I put my spurs to her, I was right quick with my head in the dirt. It took her doing that to me 12 times to decide that I was never going to get a road. It put a definite end to any thought I ever had of being a bull rider. He said he never told that story to anyone except to his brother Frank and to my cousin Julie, who told it to me. Thanks, Julie. When he got his marriage license, he was too young, so his dad had to sign for him. The clerk said, "How old are you?" He said, "I don't know, Dad. How old am I?" On his wedding day, there was a bad storm on the pass. He barely made it over Raton Pass back to Raton from Walsenburg. And when they got back from their honeymoon, there was a draft notice to greet them. Shortly after that, he shipped out. He served proudly in the Army in Korea. His older brother George also got his draft notice. By chance, they were stationed close to each other. They would walk the 20 miles to see each other whenever they could. Upon completion of his service and return to civilian life, he worked as a cowboy on several ranches, and eventually managed the Alley Ranch north of Walsenburg. This began an era that identified Bill as an exceptional manager in all phases of ranching, including cattle and horses. He completed his ranching career with John Templer on ranches in Tatum, New Mexico, Hereford, Folsom, and Des Moines. My dad loved telling stories and jokes, although there really aren't very many of them that I can share today. And everyone knows if they gave out belt buckles like that for flirting, it would have been quite a bit bigger than that. Each of you know for yourselves how you were impacted by knowing the man known as husband, father, Papa Bear, Uncle Bill, or friend. We all had fun together and remembered his laugh and the gleam in his eye. Please keep telling your stories about my dad to each other and anybody that'll listen. I'd like to start by telling you about a time when I was in high school and we were starting to have that natural son-father competition. He said, "Lance, anytime now in the next 5 years, you pick the day, I'll race you on foot, 50 yards and back for $20. I said, "Okay, Dad." About 6 months later, he got bucked off in a pile of rocks. 3 broken ribs. About a week after that, I walked into his bedroom and said, "Dad, how about we run that foot race tomorrow morning?" He immediately said, "Vergale, get my wallet." He paid up. At this time, his granddaughter, Kaylee, would like to share something about the man she knew was popular.